All right, with Ace Bailey seemingly out now after everything that laid out on Thursday, where do we go from here? BJ Edgecombe, Tre Johnson, Kon Knueppel, maybe other for the Philadelphia 76ers at pick number 3. We'll get into it all on this Friday as we head into the weekend, just a few days away now from the NBA draft. This is the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics, along with Derek Bodner, Kyle Neubeck. I'm Devon Givens. Our president of basketball operations, Bree, is still here hanging out with us. All of you in the chat, we cannot thank you enough, as always, for hanging out with us. And today, the final day of Spirit Week, it's for you. It's Diehard Day. All of you diehards that have been hanging out with us, it's Diehard Day as we wrap up Spirit Week. We're still taking the money. We enjoy it, taking the money from all of you as you keep donating and add to the fundraising for the Big Brothers Big Sister.
It's been awesome seeing the charitable response this week, man. We're really proud to be working with Big Brothers Big Sisters. So to see such a awesome feedback from you guys has been awesome.
What are we? We're getting close to 14, right? And our goal was 15.
13.
Well, our new goal, our revised goal after we blew through the 10K.
13-6.
Yeah.
13-6.
We can get to 15 by the end today. We're the last show, so you got some work to do.
Just under 10 hours to go, folks. So go ahead, hit that 15,000 number for us at Big Brothers Big Sister fundraiser, and we appreciate it as always. Please do so during the show. Also, as Kyle always tells us at the end of the show, make sure you hit the like button so we can get those likes up, man. We don't do that a lot here on the show, but we're getting close to the draft.
We're not beggars, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting close to the draft, and we want to see those likes. I just saw in there, who said it, that this has been by far the best podcast out there. I saw it.
From INS.
INS.
Thank you, INS.
We
regular
appreciate
listener.
it. Now, everybody hit that like button and show your love there as well, and we really appreciate
I was
it.
going to
Show
say,
your love.
definitely wasn't from
Look at
definitely wasn't from Duck, because Duck does not agree with anything I've said over the last
He
month.
still likes the show, though. He
Maybe.
still shows up, so we appreciate that. We'll get into a lot of stuff. We'll get into the NBA Finals a little bit later. We got a Game 7, fellas, and that will be on Sunday at 8 p.m. on Sunday night, so we look forward to that. And we'll also get into some of the diehard messages that we received as part of the Diehard Day for all of you. But Kyle, here we are, man, with the other three, if you will. It's not like we haven't been talking about these others that we know. They're more than just others. But the name that always gets the buzz is really just Ace Bailey. However, with that seemingly, at least for right now, not the direction potentially that the Sixers may go in, we have to shift our focus for our last show this week. We'll get into other things next week, obviously, but to VJ Edgecombe, Tre Johnson, Kon Knueppel, where they are. And maybe there's one more, maybe two more that you may like to insert into the conversation.
There are probably some dark horse guys we'll get to.
Yeah. So as we sit here today, and we've talked about VJ a lot, Kyle, but right now, where would you make the case, of course, let's make the case for these guys and start with VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah, well, so first of all, I think based on the available intel, that's not to say this is all the intel, but the available intel, he appears to be the favorite, right? Because he's the only guy that we know of in this range that has had an actual meeting and workout with them, right? So we know that Kon Knueppel had a Zoom interview scheduled with the Sixers. That is out there, but he did not come in for a workout. So VJ,
and we do also know that Ace met with them at the Combine for what that's worth.
But as far as, hey, we want to see this guy in our facility, have him meet all our brain trust. Tyrese Maxey flies in. Like, VJ is the only known guy that has been given that treatment, right? And so for now, at least, we treat him as the leader in the clubhouse. And he's not a perfect fit, right? He's not someone like Ace where you draft him and say, I see a clear path that he starts on day one, right? Because he's a guard. He's 6'4" and without shoes, say 6'5", 6'5.5" in shoes. That puts him in that, Quentin Grimes-ish territory physically. And he's going to have to compete for minutes with Maxey, with McCain, and with Quentin Grimes. So that's an immediate complication. But if you're a believer in his shot, and I am, and I think a lot of the draft people are, because he's a good shooter in high school, good free throw splits, catch and shoot numbers are good. The pull-up shooting is the big question. He is pretty immediately a ready-made NBA role player day one because his defense is going to be ahead of where most rookies are. He's a switchable guy in the backcourt. I think the hope would be long-term he puts on enough weight that he can guard the smaller threes of the world and, kind of live in that 1-2-3, take the toughest matchup type of assignment. I think even if he is not a stopper right away, his instincts off the ball, his athleticism, his closing speed, all that combines that he will be a disruptive player as a defender, right? And if we look at the way Nick Nurse's teams like to play defense, his style is we're going to play aggressive. We want to try to force turnovers. So, we're going to concede some shots that some teams won't. They give up a decent amount of corner threes. VJ is somebody who is athletic and productive enough as a defender that he fits right into that, but also because he's so athletic, can make recovery plays where, when you put guys in those spots that are not as quick as he are, not as able to,
watching Kyle Lowry last year.
Yeah, right. When you put VJ in Kyle Lowry's spot or even like Jared McCain's spot, he's someone who can go for a steal in a passing lane and then still, in theory, get back and try to make a play defensively. So more of the questions are, what does his role look like on offense? And it's tough to tell from his time at Baylor what that really looks like, right? His success playing for the Bahamas last summer, a lot of that was him on the ball at the point of attack, running the offense, coming off of ball screens, and playing some more, traditional pick and roll guard. I think, and most people believe, his role at the next level will be second side attacker, someone who can come off of a dribble handoff with speed, someone who, if you give him a one-on-one matchup, has a really good first step and can get by guys. The key for him, though, again, circling back to the shot, he's got to make enough of those shots to keep defenses honest, because if guys play up on him, he has the speed and the tools to get downhill and score. But because teams played a little bit off of him at Baylor, which was not all him, right? They were trying to pack the paint against a team that did not have a lot of great shooters, did not have the best floor spacing in the world. At times they're playing like double big type lineups. If you can sag off of him, his worst traits as a driver will show up, right? Like he picks the ball up too early. I think he trusts his athleticism a little bit too much, where he's trying to take off from the free throw line or a little bit inside the free throw line, and he gets into midair without a plan. And like, that's an issue, but that's something that's a known issue that you would assume, all right, this guy's going to come in and he's going to work on that right away. The key selling point for VJ is he can play with any of these guys individually, right? So if you're saying, hey, they're bringing back Quentin Grimes, they're not making any kind of crazy trades with Maxey and McCain, he can be in any combination of lineups. If it's him and Maxey, great. That's a great starting point. Him and McCain, you bring those two off the bench together potentially. That's some real dynamic shooting from McCain, dynamic athleticism from VJ. You put him next to Quentin Grimes. Neither of them is like a lead point guard type player, but we saw Quentin Grimes run some point last year, and I think VJ has enough where he can be a secondary guy playing off of that. So it opens up a lot of different types of lineup combinations with the guards. The big concern would be, how do you fill the roster out in a way where they don't have these rebounding and front court weaknesses that they've had as they load up on these guards? I think that's a fair question. And I think if you're looking at him as he is a 6'4" without shoes guard, you would want him to be a better ball handler. He's got to make progress as a guy who takes people off the dribble and can hunt his own shot. So
now, to be clear, they do play in shoes, right?
Correct.
All right. I'm getting thrown by you referencing the without shoes.
I'm just doing your thing. I gotta be fair to the Derek Bodner side of the argument on shoes and no shoes.
Got to be technical. It's not shoes; they're sneakers. So there you go. He's playing in shoes. He might be sliding all over the place.
I bring up a lot of his weaknesses and the full picture to say, one of the primary reasons you bet on VJ over other guys is you just believe in him as a worker and as a person and all the background intel, because if you view these players as similarly talented, you need outlier development from one of them to get head and shoulders past one of these guys. And because VJ has the base of athleticism, because everybody who's ever worked with him, played with him, talked with him, comes away saying, man, this kid is impressive. Man, this kid is about the right things. Like, that's ultimately, I think, the decisive factor here. It's not that he is a markedly better player. Even you could argue he's not a better player than these guys, period, right now. But if you view them as similar, you say, all right, I'll take the maniac competitor and worker, and I think he will outplay these guys long term.
Real fast, because yesterday when we were talking about Bailey and all of that, of him stepping right into a potential starting role for the Sixers, there's one available. There's a spot available. Is that spot still available for VJ Edgecombe?
No.
No.
Not right off the bat. He'll have to beat someone else.
Yeah.
I don't think, and Kyle brought something up, which is in terms of him bulking up. I'm actually very confident in him bulking up down the line.
I agree.
It's just that will be a 2, 3, 4 year process. From day one, I don't think, because realistically, if he's going to start, you would have Maxey, Grimes, and VJ. Now, which one of Grimes or VJ defends a 3, it doesn't really matter. I don't necessarily love either of them at the 3. I think Grimes is probably a little more capable right now, but I think that would be we brought this up. I think that lineup can probably work like 40% of the time, maybe 50, maybe 60. We can debate.
I think that lineup works against like bench units and stuff, but not as your A1 lineup.
I don't think you want it every day against starters. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I think I largely agree with what Kyle said. I think he is the one that you have to make the fewest projections to have a two-way player. Like I think the catch and shoot stuff is pretty real. His catch and shoot numbers, especially on unguarded catch and shoots, but overall he shot 37% on catch and shoots on pretty good volume. I think when you look at the base, that's there. And when you're in catch and shoots and you're attacking closeouts, then the ball handling concerns aren't quite as big of an indictment. Then when you look on defensively, I think he can compete pretty early on in his career. Maybe not going to be a defender. He's going to be at 24, 25, 26, but I think he will be at least a neutral, probably a positive defender almost from day one. That's with almost no projection at all. Now, to Kyle's point, a lot of what we're looking at here is, all right, well, can they be a star? And for almost all of them, with maybe the exception of Tre, which we'll get to, it would take outlier development for them to become a star.
Yep.
The thing is, VJ has a floor where even without outlier development, he's a useful player. It might not be a star, but it might be a third or fourth option. Whereas Ace, I think it would take pretty outlier development just to get him to the point where he is, a quality starter. Like Ace to me feels like, we're not going to make this all about Ace. Ace to me feels like...
I didn't think we were making it any about him. I thought this was just, we're done.
I'm just explaining why VJ is up there. With Ace, it feels like it's either he's, I'm not sure I trust him, or he's like borderline all-star. Like the probabilities in between those two extremes, because if he figures out enough to be playable, his natural skill set will take over to the point where he is going to be a very plus value offensive player. But I think there's some real risk in that. Whereas VJ, I think you need the least amount of outlier development for him to be a quality rotation player, a quality starter. But also, I feel the most confident of him having outlier development because of his work ethic, because of the way that everyone raves about him, because of how quickly he's improved over the last 5 years since he started playing, moving to the States and playing real high-level basketball. It is both the safest pick because he has so many different ways he can impact a game, but also the one where outlier development is outlier development, but if you're going to bet on one to make that unexpected jump, he has the work ethic and the behind-the-scenes stuff to make you confident in it.
Here's another thing I would add on top of all of that, right? You don't take, unless you're drafting a guy who's an actual point guard, you don't say, well, passing has to be it's the number one thing on the scouting report or the number one thing you prioritize. But you do, every player on the floor needs to be at least some form of functional playmaker, right? Someone who's looking for reads, someone who can take advantage of a bent defense, a team that's stuck in rotation. It might just be you make the extra pass. It might just be someone overcommits to you in a pick and roll coverage and you say, hey, I have a diving big man. I'm going to hit that guy. More than Tre and I guess not Knueppel. Knueppel actually was a pretty damn good playmaker for the role he played. But VJ at least I think clears the bar of he makes enough of the passing reads for the type of player that you're going to take at the top of the draft. Now, none of these guys are... it's a passing wizard that I have out there, right?
They're not.
If you're looking for that type of player, you're probably looking further down the lottery at a Yakachonis. You're looking at a guy like Yegor Demin and guys who I don't think are in this range. What I would say is if you combine VJ's athleticism that manifests on both ends of the floor as a cutter, transition player, defender, if you take all that, you take the defensive floor, you take, hey, I think he's going to shoot. And then you add on that, I think he's a good passer, right? Like, I think he can make some advanced reads. I think he wants to make, the right plays and make those. One of the things that DeAnthony Melton did when he was here that I thought was undervalued that you notice now, he did a really good job during his time here of flashing to like the elbow, flashing into the middle of the floor, and then just making one of those quick no-look passes or get the ball to the other side of the floor to unlock some defenses that otherwise are loading up on them. I could see VJ making those types of plays. Like, I think the case for him is that he's got very good instincts and very good athleticism. I wouldn't quite say elite athleticism just because it doesn't show up as much when he's going to the rim and trying to finish. But very good athleticism, very good instincts. When a kid who's 19 years old is already as smart as he is about the game and as productive as he is on both ends of the floor, those guys tend to get better. You add on the work ethic, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, look, he's one that's going to come in, and as we talk about all these, and we'll get into some of the other names, Ace Bailey certainly, and you look at numbers, you expect numbers to pop when they do make it right into the league. This guy's, as Scott Drew said, one thing that I definitely agree with, he's going to be a stat sheet stuffer where he'll do a lot of different things to impact the game, and you just hope that it impacts winning. He will make that extra pass, that connecting pass. He will show and make himself available in the cut, and whether it's baseline or even in the middle of the floor. He's going to run the floor. By the way, he's a threat out there where in the open floor, it's probably where he's going to get a decent amount of his points just by being a guy that can run, fill a lane, and finish at the rim because of the athleticism and all of that. You tend to pass the guys when you're in transition, when you got a guy who can finish the way that you think he can when you have an odd man advantage there in fast break situations. So he'll be able to do that. He's a good basketball player. And remember, as we're watching some of the chats as we can, we all said it after Flag and Harper, everybody has an issue. It's just a matter of which issue you're more willing to deal with for your basketball team going forward. And right now, it does at least seem like VJ Edgecombe is the one that has the advantage right now to be the one that hears his name called at number 3 for the Philadelphia 76ers. So, but he's a good player, and he's talked about for a very good reason. He's also a name that has been talked about that if you don't take him there and people are trying to move up potentially just because Charlotte is not going to let him get past number 4.
Brian Pumper assured me for weeks that nobody's trading up for Valdez.
He did.
I agree with you. I think he's almost a lock to go 4 if you don't take him.
Yes. So, and that's for a reason, because he's a good basketball player. And when we discussed yesterday with Ace and not wanting to be that 4th, 5th option on the basketball team, VJ Edgecombe is not going to have a problem with that stepping into the league right now, understanding his role, earning his keep as we go along here with him potentially as a pick for this basketball team. All right, we're going to take a quick pause. We come right back. We said we were going to talk about 3 and maybe some dark horses. We'll get to the other 2 starting on the other side as we start to jump in on the conversation with the other possible picks at pick number 3. Also, Bree does have a poll up asking the question about who you lean towards right now of selecting for the Sixers at pick number 3. So go ahead, cast your vote. We'll read it at the end of the show as we discuss the it's kind of unfair to say the other guys because they're more than just the other guys, but the other candidates.
All right. It's just he's 3. The favorite. I don't think he's like an overwhelming favorite, but I think he's certainly the favorite.
The other candidates.
If there's 4 candidates, so you'd probably say he's probably close to a 50%.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'll do that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
All right. Well, I know that every now and then when I use one of these apps, I look at it and I go, I spent how much on food out last month? Whoo, boy.
Yeah.
Finances can be messy and confusing, and Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. Monarch Money makes managing money simple, even for busy lives. With all your accounts, credit cards, and investments in one place, you'll always know where your money stands without the hassle. Track your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your budget life goals a reality. Named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025 and the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. Financial stress is one of the top reasons relationships fall apart. Monarch Money makes money conversations easier. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY.
Our presenting sponsor for the show for the entire summer, Rothman Orthopedics. Folks, they're back with us as we hang out with you from the draft to free agency to summer league, all the way through. We're proud to partner once again with Rothman Orthopedics. So I got to tell you about getting you back to what you love, especially this summer, whether you're biking by Kelly Drive or chasing your kids through the sprinkler or finally tackling that hiking trail. It's tough when your body doesn't cooperate like you need it to. That's where Rothman Orthopedics comes in. From aches and pains after a pickup game to old injuries that flare up in the summer adventures that you continue to ignore, Rothman's team of experts, they're here to help with evidence-based care and a commitment to restoring your mobility. They'll get you back out there stronger than ever. So don't let your pain put you in your summer on pause. Don't do that. You can't do that because then you're going to have a terrible summer. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country at over 60,000. So once again, do not let that pain put your summer on hold. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to book your appointment today and get back to doing what you love, pain-free. That's Rothman Orthopedics, getting you back to your summer game. That's their mission. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Friday. And you know what, folks? We got to tell you that it is the Art of the Words word of the day.
Ooh.
So as we jump into this conversation now with these other two candidates, and we're going to start with one of them and move into the second one in the second segment, how about we go with
Shooter.
That's right. Shooter. That's the word of the day here by Art of the Words, word of the day, Shooter. Derek, Tre Johnson. The guy can shoot.
He can shoot.
He can shoot the
flat out
basketball.
shoot.
Said to be maybe the best shooter
Might
in this
be.
draft.
The real contender for that is somebody we'll talk about in this probably next segment as well. No, Tre's, like we talked about projections and, you know, the leaps that you have to make in order to envision people as, you know, a impact player. I think when you talk about being an impact offensive player, I'm gonna obviously clarify that because there are some concerns on the other end. But in terms of becoming an impact offensive player, maybe not a superstar offensive player, because I think he needs to put more rim pressure on the rim. I think he needs to grow as a distributor. But in terms of being like maybe an all-star caliber player, or at least close to it, all-star caliber offensive player, the projections you have to make for Tre Johnson are pretty comfortable to make. Mm-hmm. Like, I think just his combination of the shooting under pressure, the fact that he took I think it was 120 off the dribble jump shots over the course of his season and connected them at a really good rate. The fact that there is diversity in that, whether it's shooting off the dribble, shooting off of movement, obviously shooting off the catch, shooting in transition, filling a lane. He just has, he's the type where if he would have had, I think, a little more help around him and the shots were just a little bit easier. He already had a borderline historic shooting season, but I think it could have been a truly, truly special season.
And he took some tough shots.
Took some real tough shots.
But his didn't look as, when we sit here and evaluate Ace Bailey and Tre Johnson tough shots, one is 6'8", the other one is 6'5", 6'6", but his were they were a little more different than what Bailey's were.
He creates space a little bit better, I think, especially with the screen. But no, he's not going to just rise up over you and shoot over you because he's not 6'9". But I think he is unfazed by a contest as well, which we talked about a lot with Ace. And I just think he's a better passer, and he's a very significantly better passer. But I think there is a world where he learns how to leverage that threat of that shot with NBA spacing and becomes a solid playmaker. I don't think point guard. I don't think true. We're not talking 6'6" Chris Paul here. But I think he can grow as a playmaker, and I'm comfortable with that projection. And if he does that and bulks up a little bit because he does struggle near the rim and he struggles from the mid range, and I think getting all the way to the rim is really going to be his swing. But he just has a high floor offensively. And by high floor, I mean, it would stun me if he's not doesn't eventually become a 16-point per game guy. Yeah. And I think the projections become more than that are, like I said, pretty comfortable to make.
All right, but project out like we did with VJ in the first segment. He, with the Sixers, still a guard, but that four-guard lineup, what does that look like for him?
Not great.
It's different from VJ because of the defensive stuff. But the shooting does help.
It helps, but defensively, like with VJ, you can put VJ next to either Maxey or McCain. I'm not sure you can do that and actually compete defensively. I don't know if you can put him next to either one of them right now. It's the one major, I mean, all of defense, but specifically defense with this core is my one major hang up with Tre. Now, we had Sam Vecini on not too long ago. He seemed to be a little more optimistic, and maybe when you put him in a situation and a context where he's not trying to carry an entire offense, maybe you get a better version of that. But even so, he's so physically underdeveloped that day one, like if you start him, it's because you're looking towards the future, not because I think that duo, whether it's a duo with Maxey or a duo with McCain, can really succeed defensively.
2 weeks ago when we had Seth Greenberg on, and you pressed him at the end, who you taking? He went with Tre Johnson.
He did. And look, like we've talked a lot about all the different contexts that these guys are in. I think most time has been spent on Rutgers, right?
Yeah.
Just saying Rutgers was a horrible spot for both Harper and Bailey, did not provide them shooting, did not provide them with like some big time rim lob target. Like they did not have an easy time. And I don't think Tre's situation at Texas was like markedly better. Like I think it was better, but I don't think it was like dramatically better. And you just look at how he carried that offense. And by the way, a considerably tougher conference, right? Like if you're trying to put guys on a curve for where they played and whatnot, Tre played in an absolute monster of a conference. Like this is one of the best conference seasons probably ever. It was the SEC this year. So if you took him and put him in a better team environment this year with maybe some better spacing, some better offensive structure, like there's no telling what he would have accomplished. Like maybe he wouldn't have put up 20 points a game because he would have had some more responsibility divvied out between, like if you just swapped him and Kon Knueppel, right? I don't think he's scoring 20 points a game at Duke. What you might have seen more if he had played at Duke with Cooper Flagg and Maluach is the playmaking stuff come through. Is John Shire being more purposeful about movement shooting sets, right? Because I think all of us feel this kid's going to be able to come off screens and shoot. We've already seen the on-ball equity, the relocation stuff. One of the things I really like about Tre are the one dribble pull-up shots, right? Where it's like, hey, guys closing out really fast, just that sidestep, one dribble, bang, or you turn the corner on a pick and roll or a handoff. You just see a little bit of daylight openings there. He can hit that shot. Like those tight windows are where playoff games are won, right? You do not have the luxury, as we've seen with the Sixers, of ball gets to a guy on the perimeter and he jab steps, or second guesses the shot. Like the one thing you could say about Tre, there is no shortage of confidence. And what we've heard in the pre-draft process is that confidence is tied to real hard work, real like hours and hours and hours in the gym. He's gotten outstanding reviews from people who have coached him, people who've had him in for even just for workouts, right? Because these teams and the scouts and whatnot see hundreds of these guys over the years come through their gym. Hey, I see what their prep looks like. I see what their level of seriousness looks like. And Tre has gotten really strong reviews for, hey, if this kid put up 1,000 shots on rep number 950, he's still coming hard. Like he's really putting it all out there. So that's the type of kid you want in there. The question is, does that ever apply to the other end of the floor? And as Derek brought up, I do think that Sam Vecini and some of the other draft people are higher on his defense than I have been from watching him play. Beyond the scout and beyond like what the film shows, it is pretty concerning that he was such an anemic rebounder. It was pretty concerning that if you look at his physical tools, his wingspan, his the vertical, all the stuff he showed at the combine, given all of that, the fact that he was not creating more turnovers, the fact that he's not more of a disruptive player, that generally is a bad sign as it relates to what you're going to be at the next level. But I agree mostly with what Derek said, right? Like I think there is a signature skill here. I think there's a clear path to this guy will be a shooter. This guy will bring that to the table. And there's enough of the other stuff there, the playmaking, the ability to put on weight, all of that, that if you want to take a star bet, I think this is one of the main guys you look at.
And one of the things for me, obviously, the defense is an issue, and people are saying take him off the board just because of the fact that the defense is that bad. But I will look at the playmaking side of it as if you did watch some Texas basketball games, yeah, you can sometimes the body language you didn't love. Sometimes the way he runs can maybe even drive you crazy if the ball is not in his hands. It's these little pitter-patter steps where you're saying, is he engaged enough? And you don't want to make the excuse of what that Texas situation was because they were still in the conference where you need to go out there and compete, and you had enough energy to do that stuff offensively to average 20, lead the SEC in scoring as a freshman, and do those things. But the playmaking, though, for me, when you look at those games, if you watch some of those games, there's stuff there. And if he comes into a spot like Philadelphia and he plays with these guys, again, the shooting is going to help him get on the floor, but the other things are too. Just as we laid it out there for VJ, it's going to be easier to have VJ Edgecombe on the floor because he's going to do all those other things that make you stay on the floor. Tre Johnson shooting, knocking down shots, that's the first thing that's going to probably get him on the floor. The thing that's going to keep him on the floor is making that extra pass, making those reads to those other people to make sure that the offense is flowing to get the easier shot because you are no longer the best guy out there to do that. Everybody else out there on the floor, especially the guards, are right there on the same level. So the playmaking, you see some flashes with it. And the other things that Kyle is talking about, if you watch Texas, some of that stuff, if you peek behind the curtain there, you're like, oh, Tre can do that too. Why are you not doing more of that? So when he gets to the pros, you hope that that's something that he does in fact do. The defense, that's just going to be up to him. If he wants to play defense and dig in and commit to playing defense, he's going to be a guard in the NBA. They're going to hunt him down. They're going to hunt switches down. Where's your competition level? Where's that pride level on the defensive end where you're not getting cooked night after night on the defensive end where you can go out there and compete and do different things? That is totally going to be up to him of how he addresses that when he gets to the pros. And so other than that, again, I like the player. I like the player a lot. I don't know. Maybe he's the one I would lean to right now over VJ Edgecombe. Because I like that shooting ability.
After all this time and all these deviations, are we going to get to the point where we're all three at the same person at 3?
Maybe.
That is going to be wild.
Maybe.
We're going to find out on Tuesday when we do our big boards.
Yes, but Tre is a very, very, very good scorer, and I like the fact that we did hear a lot of those other positive things coming post-Texas where you heard about his personality. He's a really good guy, hard worker, all of that stuff where you didn't get those knocks that we knocked him on. We dinged him on those things.
No,
during
on
the
court, it was like,
season. Yeah, we were like, But when the season was ended and all of those people you're talking about watched him so much during the year, still so many good positive things said about him.
I also want to, so this is a comp that's come up a lot, so I'm not picking on our friend Duck here, but Duck in the chat brought up, he said, Tre equals Cam Thomas. I'm going to say 2 things about that comp. Cam Thomas has never in his life been a shooter or had a shooting, even a stretch, as good as the season that Tre Johnson just had. He is a mid-range guy. He's a guy who loves to take pull-up shots, but he's been a low 30s to mid-30s shooter basically his entire career. So that's number 1. Number 2, Cam Thomas had like half the assists he did in college with a negative assist to turnover. He is the ultimate tunnel vision guy.
Cam Thomas in college, 8.3 assist rate. Ace Bailey, 8.1%. If you want to make a comparison of Cam Thomas, buddy, you've got
There's
the
big
wrong
Cam
prospect.
Thomas. Look,
Yes.
staring you in the eye. So Tre, I think, has just shown more of a willingness to pass by a pretty comfortable margin already. And he is just a better shooter right now than Cam Thomas has ever been in his life.
And again,
period.
Tre Johnson, who we criticize his passing, has double that assist rate. He has a 16.5% assist rate. The comparison you want, is a little taller, but other than that, it's much more Ace Bailey.
There's real tunnel vision with Cam Thomas. There's some tunnel vision.
And they
Tre
take
Johnson.
the same type of shots. They don't play make a lot. One guy just happens to be a good bit taller, which is why he's being talked about the way he is instead of like Cam Thomas.
And I did appreciate when Sam Vecini was on and he's talked about being at his workout and watching him shoot and saying that all the years that he's seen players in their workouts where they've shot, that was one of the best shooting displays that he has ever seen for a prospect for a pre-draft workout. All right, we take a quick pause. We come back. By the way, that was our art of the art of the words, word of the day. Shooter, right there with Tre Johnson. We'll talk about the other shooter who does other things on the other side that we will get to right there when we get back right here on the PHLY. And we'll also tell you about our draft day location. And we hope that we see you there so you can RSVP for that. We'll do that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Thankfully, I figured this out, Devon. So.
Okay, cool. I was trying to stall for you.
Guys, you've heard about our friends at Game Time before, right? We've told you about Game Time from, feels like day one of starting this company. The Game Time app has last minute deals that get you as close as you want to be at a game for the right price. You get last minute deals. We talk about it all the time. The view from your seat, right? Mm-hmm. When we were out in Las Vegas, and I'm just begging these guys, we got to go to the Sphere. We got to go to the Sphere. We were able to sit on the Game Time app while we're sitting eating, I think we're eating some chicken wings at a restaurant in Las Vegas,
yes, we were.
And pick through the individual seats and see, this is what my experience is going to be like at this venue. And that's just amazing, right? You don't want to buy tickets. You don't want to spend your hard-earned money on some tickets that are in like the obstructed viewing land, right? You're behind a pole. There's something hanging overhead of you. Like, that's awful. Game Time avoids all that. And by the way, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The fees are included. You can check an option that says, I want to see the full price the second I open this app. And that's awesome because you don't want to go through 10 different steps, get to the checkout and say, why did this just get $100 more expensive per ticket? Like, that doesn't happen with Game Time. You know right away you're getting the best deal because they also have their lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a better deal elsewhere. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
It's been a while. You didn't do the Game Time thing at the end.
Oh,
you know, it's Game Time. Ooh.
It's not Game Time right now.
All right. We got to tell you about Parks Casino, our good people there at Parks Casino. Listen, folks, you know, it's another thing that I've said. I've been there plenty of times. I used to do plenty of shows there on a weekly basis where I had a great time there at the Excite Center right outside of the, you know, just the state-of-the-art sportsbook that they have there. It's a fantastic place. So I hope that you can all get a chance to check it out. They also have the Bet Parks Online Casino app that you can check out where all the games you love to play in person at Parks Casino, like pop culture, slots, roulette cards, dice games, and more, right there played at Bet Parks app. The Parks Online Casino has the games that you love, whether you're at home or on the go, or maybe you want to be in person, as I just mentioned, at the Excite Center at my casino of choice, Parks Casino. It's located in Bensalem. Take the Street Road exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike and go out there and just simply have yourself a great time. When you're there, if you want to see a show, go do that. I was telling you before that the one show that I was able to get to, even after I've been invited so many times to go, was Deon Cole. I love going to see shows, the comedy shows there as well, and that was a fantastic one. So if you want to go to a show, maybe Dionne Warwick is there November 14th on a Friday night, the legendary Dionne Warwick. Maybe you want to go see I don't know, Trevor Wallace, June 27th, next Friday. You want to go check out Trevor Wallace there at Parks Casino at the Excite Center? Go ahead, check out Parks Casino. Go to parkscasino.com/Bensalem. Check them out. And Parks Casino, this is how you win. Must be 21 and over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's tell you about our draft party that we have.
Yeah, baby. If you want to come yell at us about Ace Bailey in person, we'll be at the Boozy Mutt on June 25th. We'll be there for approximately 4 hours. 7 to 11 is what we're scheduled for. Presented by Rothman and TrueMark Financial, two of our wonderful friends, right, Devon?
Yeah, but Rothman and TrueMark Financial. So listen, Diehard members, come on and hang out. You got to go RSVP at allphly.com/events. And you can go And when you go there, you'll see it's the very first one right there as soon as you open it up at the Boozy Mutt. So come hang out with us, RSVP on the page so we know how many people to expect. It is free, so you're good to go there. And I do know that we've had a pretty decent number of folks that have already RSVP'd to sign up to come hang out with us for the draft party. Pick number 3. Who's it going to be? VJ, Tre, the guy we're about to talk about next.
I thought you were breaking some news there for a second.
Is it going to be Ace Bailey? I don't know. You want to see the whole place react? If Ace Bailey's names get called at 3? Well, maybe we'll do that, but we'll do that together there at the Boozy Mutt. Once again, that is Wednesday, June 25th from 7 to 11. Hang out with us, presented by Rothman Orthopedics and TrueMark Financial. By the way, it's at 2639 Poplar Street, if you're wondering. So make sure you get there and get there on time so we can have some conversations there before we start our show at 8 o'clock. All right. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Let's talk a little bit. What did you want to tell them real fast about the Fanatics Fest?
Oh, yeah, sure. I could tell people
Let's tell them about the Fanatics Fest
one of the other events that are coming up on the schedule, and that is Fanatics Fest, June 20th through the 22nd at the Javits Center in New York City. 3 days of nonstop sports, culture, and collectibles. Your favorite athletes, creators, and celebrities. Let's just get it out of the way up front this time. Pete Davidson,
who
somehow made a list that includes Cooper DeJean, Brian Dawkins, Nick Foles, Allen Iverson, and Dawn Staley. For what reason, I still don't know, but hey.
He's a headliner.
That's what it says on the sheet, and that's what I'm going to read to our wonderful people. If you're a big Pete Davidson fan or a big Philly sports fan, whoever you root for, there'll be people there to see from NFL to NBA, Major League Baseball, even some wrestlers, if that's your thing. Get some exclusive merch. There are card drops, sneakers, live podcasts. Tickets are going fast, so don't miss your shot. To be a part of it, Fanatics Fest NYC, sports, culture, collectibles, all in one place. Get your tickets now at fanaticsfest.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Kyle, let's talk about another shooter, Kon Knueppel, Duke.
Very divisive.
Very divisive.
You know, white guy from Duke, I get it. It's white guy who's also not athletic from Duke. I get why there's a lot of skepticism, right?
Well, he also has T-Rex arms, so he's got that going for him too.
At least he's got T-Rex arms and he's, like 6'5", 6'6", right?
Yeah, so, but I think he's like 6'6.5" in shoes with a 6'6" quarter wingspan or something like that. It's not great.
So the case for Knueppel, and I will tell you this right now, this is generally not my type of player, right? As much as I have been against, the ace bandwagon, I'm normally not, hey, white guy from Duke is not normally my type of player. But Kon Knueppel is a high feel player, great shooter, who I think the case for him rests on he can do more than you saw at Duke while also providing a ready-made skill the second that he enters the league, right? Like he will be a high level shooter. If you go back through his high school stats, I don't remember who tracked this. I don't know if it was Synergy or there's some other high school tracking services out there. He shot something like 44% from 3 on like 1,200 attempts in high school, right? So did that, comes in at Duke, actually struggled a little bit out of the gate, still ultimately has a 40% shooting season from the three-point line. And there's just like no doubt this guy will shoot at the next level. Good relocation guy, someone who is, smart enough to slide into spots to create good spacing, right? So like he was in a good context at Duke. He had good coaching. He had other talent around him, but he's part of what made that offense go, right? His ability to, hey, Cooper Flag and Maluach are running this. I need to slide into this spot. Hey, my teammate gets trapped here. I need to get to this spot and, provide a release valve. He did a very good job as, again, I'll use this word with VJ. They're very different players, but as a second side attacker, right? Like he gets the ball on a swing, great read of whether to take the shot, pump fake to get by somebody, sidestep to make a three. And after a really tough start inside the arc, he ended up with pretty damn good numbers despite the lack of athleticism with the inside the arc scoring, right? Like I think his two-footed play specifically, his ability to, come to jump stops, lean into somebody, hit a quick, 8-foot fadeaway, shot off the glass, go through somebody, get to the rim, was way better than I was expecting coming into the year. And then if you look at the playmaking stuff, right, like he didn't have overwhelming assist numbers, but some of the tracking that people did, when he saw pressure, which wasn't a ton, he was one of the best players in this entire class at dealing with pressure and finding high value passes all over the floor, right? Now, some of those you would say he had a 7'2" big man to just throw the ball up to. But I think if you guys go back and watch the tape for Maluach, you will see something I've said on the show many times. His lobs are like, Maluach didn't even need to move. It's the ball. It was like a magnet to his hands, right?
Real good ball
So the
placement.
level of precision that he played with as a downhill pick and roll playmaker was really special. The questions are really just, is this guy athletic enough to be a good NBA player, right? He will probably be in the bottom 5 to 10% of athletes in the league. It did not stop him from being a good college defender, but you're always saying, hey, as you make the jump to the next level, how much of a difference does that make? And unlike these other guys that we're talking about, the Rutgers kids, VJ, Tre, a bunch of these other guys, he was in an elite context for who he is,
Yes.
right? He had an elite rim protector behind him. He had a special defensive player in Cooper Flag to clean stuff up, make 2 and 3 rotations at a time. And so I'm not sure we saw the extent to which his defense will be a problem. If you think that he is smart enough and competitive enough to get to neutral, I think he's one of the single safest bets in this entire class. But that is a big bet to make because of the athleticism.
I was just going to say, of all the people we're talking about here, I think Kon Knueppel was the best college defender out of this group. I don't even necessarily think it's all that close. Now, it's a little close because, VJ has more playmaking. VJ certainly gets you out on the break more. I think VJ will be a better NBA defender by a considerable amount. But in terms of playing within a team context, now, what Kyle brought up there is 100% true. That was the perfect team context for someone like Kon, with the rim protector and then the weak side and the rotation guy in Cooper Flag. But for his role, he played it about as well as you could have hoped for. I think he is incredibly smart defensively. I think he's in the right spot defensively. I think something that Sam Vecini brought up when he was on our show is 100% true. I think he, sort of like forces you and guides the player to where the help is coming from. I think he's strong. And I think that's maybe the one thing that people, miss when they watch Kon a lot. He's a strong
And prospects
kid.
in general. If you're strong at 18, 19, that's a big deal.
Yeah. And that shows up on both ends. If he's got a body between, his man and the basket, you're generally not going to go through him. It shows up offensively as well. He is real good, at giving you an elbow or giving you a shoulder and being able to get a shot off inside the arc, even though he necessarily isn't a good athlete. So I think that shows up a lot. And I think it helps make him more than just a shooter. The shooting is great and the movement shooting is great. Off-ball catch and shooting is great. His ability to, generate offense, which he showed in the ACC tournament after Cooper Flag went down, I think is a little bit underrated. He is, if you're going to tell me that Kon Knueppel, if he stays on the floor, is going to be a top 5 offensive player in this class, I 100% buy that. And not only that, but you can drop him in pretty much every star combination offensively, and he's going to find a way to add value. He's that good of an offensive player. He's that diversified of an offensive player. I think he's going to be really, really good. It really does come down to that defense. If he can get to a, playable and certainly playable neutral in the playoffs, then yeah, I think he's in there in a 3 through 5 pick. If you have a low rating on that defensively, he's probably somewhere in the 5 through 7, 5 through 8 range.
So if we talk about his defense, though, as being a problem the same way we look at Tre Johnson and his, there's more space in the NBA. So while he was able to do a lot of that on the college level, there is more space. Some guys that are much quicker at the positions that they will be, again, trying to find him just like they will try to find Tre Johnson. If we believe that VJ Edgecombe can hold up much better than those two, why is that not a knock as much as it is on Tre? And again, I know what he did in college, but we're talking about the spacing now as we get into the pros.
No, it's a massive, like, the defending in space is a massive concern for him. There's really no way to hide that. I tried to make a point, and Kyle brought up too, like, he was in the perfect context to hide him defensively.
Yeah, like even someone who would advocate for Kon Knueppel would not sit here and say, Oh yeah, he's going to be a great defender at the net. Like I feel super
No.
confident that he's going to be
Yeah.
a good enough defender. I think like you just have to make your peace with. I think he can get the average. If that's your guy, you have to believe that his instincts and his competitiveness will be enough on that end. And that's where like so. If you're going to try to make the case, he'll get the average. Kon is a kid who really mixes it up, right? He likes to play physical. He likes to mix it up for rebounds. There's a play that this clip has circulated a lot on social media throughout the last month or two of, I don't remember who it is. It might have been Proctor for Duke, is like about to lose the ball on the sideline and is off balance. And Kon Knueppel runs over and grabs his teammate's leg to allow the player to not fall out of bounds and save the possession. And like, it's a thing that's just like, how would you even think to do that in the middle of a game, right? Nobody thinks like, if you and I are playing pickup and you're going to fall out of bounds, I'm just going to be like, all right, throw me the ball, like do whatever you can. I'll go chase it. And those are like the little things type of plays that it just shows a player whose instincts are dialed in on both ends of the floor. And again, even with the good context, he helped himself a lot. He did a good job, as Sam talked about last week, of guiding guys to spots that they wanted those players to go, funneling players into the right spaces. But I think Devon is right. It's more space to cover at the next level. So your funneling might not work as well, right? And if that starts to unravel, there's only so much you can do with positioning and competitiveness and all that. At the end of the day, your genetics are the only thing you can't change as a player, right? You can work on your ball handling, your passing, your shooting, all that stuff. You can't change who you were born as, right? You can be the best version of who you are. And I think Kon is another guy. Good background, good work ethic stuff that we hear. But yeah, it's why I really like him a lot more than I thought I would going into this process. But I really struggle with the athleticism.
And it really is like, this is just not the right guard trio to hide him too.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, folks, it is Die Hard Day, so in a couple of minutes, we're going to get to some questions that were inserted into our Discord, a special spot for people to throw some questions in there. But before that, because we're going to get into this a lot next week, we have those 3 days, well, 2 days technically, before we get to the draft, and then certainly talk about the players as they are selected off the board. One dark horse for you, maybe at 3. And we're talking non-trade back, right? So we're just more talking.
And that's an important caveat, because I think the dark horses, if they trade down, could be, any number of people.
Yeah. So non-trade down, no trading back. Derek, one dark horse for you outside of the 3 names that we laid out there, including Ace. We got to take Ace off the board too.
So we're including Ace? Ace can be a dark horse? Because that's the obvious one.
That's the obvious one. So go in another direction.
So no Ace.
Yeah.
I agree with Kyle. I don't think there is one. Unless they trade back, I don't think there is a dark horse. I will say if there's one that I would be interested in, it's still Yakichonis. I think he has gotten hit a little bit too hard. I can't do it either. I'm not taking anyone that I'm going to say here at the third pick.
Dark horse. Yeah.
No. But I don't want fears because of the fit. I kind of want to say Noah Sangway, but like he's just a project offensively. I feel like CMB can't shoot. Like none of these.
CMB's a trade down guy, and I love CMB.
Every single one of these are trade down guys. That's why your question. I fundamentally disagree with the premise. None of them you can take it. All right. But if you're going to pigeonhole me, I'm still going.
I'll throw a guy in here that I think we universally are all like, this is not a guy we would take at number 3, but I think is someone. If you're trying to make up a dark horse candidate, it's Maluach, right?
Yep.
Because
no interest.
I'm not interested.
So in your definition of what might Daryl do, I agree. There's a 1% chance.
Yeah, because again, if you boil basketball down to the simplest stuff, this guy is humongous, is a good athlete considering the size, and there's at least some belief that he can shoot long term. You watch some of the international stuff. He was able to do a little bit more than he showed at Duke. And ultimately, if you have a guy who can be an elite rim protector, who shoots threes, and is also not a liability to, get fouled and you put him on the free throw line, like that's a player that you can build your entire defense around. Now, as we've talked about on the show, very concerned about his rebounding. Like, I think he just gets moved around by guys with lower centers of gravity. And while he's going to put on weight, he will physically develop. I think some of that will change, but I don't know that he'll ever be an elite rebounder. He did not block shots at the rate that you would expect from a guy who's humongous on an elite defense. And he also just doesn't play make basically at all. And I don't need my center to be Nikola Jokic, right? Like, as long as you're a functional playmaker, that's cool. But generally, if you have a guy in college who doesn't play make at all, he's just never going to. And so that really limits. He will be a great play finisher, right? You throw the ball up to him, he can dunk it, and that's great. But teams will force him to catch the ball at the free throw line extended, catch the ball in 4-on-3s, and he just has no tape that says, I can do this right now.
Yeah.
If you believe that he's new enough to basketball, that you can teach him all that, and that he can shoot, and that the defense is going to be great, that's the only way I could see someone getting there. I don't think any of us on this panel are Maluach guys high in this draft, but I think if you're just trying to invent someone that sneaks into this conversation, he's the obvious guy.
And the main piece of that also is the other humongous guy that's already on the roster that you don't know. Whenever people ask about his availability and update on the procedure that was done and how many games is he going to play next season and all of that stuff, no one knows. So that will be the main reason why you look to the other humongous guy from Duke.
But I don't think Maluach is ready. Like, if that's their justification for taking him at 3, then I have real issues.
But that's just more of you're forecasting maybe some other big men down the line that maybe not as good, and you're saying I'm just going to get this guy right now and just work with him.
I would say, to Derek's point, I think if you draft him, there need to be some like tear down moves pretty immediately. Like, my issue with drafting Maluach on this team, period, let alone at number 3, is a big man who comes to this team right now is in total limbo, right? You are at the whim of whatever happens with Joel Embiid. And because Maluach is so far away, he's new to the sport, he's got a lot to do. Whoever drafts him needs to play him a ton, right? You need to get reps for him early and often. And like, there will be reps here for Maluach if they were to draft him. But in the ideal scenario where Joel's healthy, and I know we all probably don't believe that's going to happen at this point, but if Joel plays 60 games, for 60 games, Maluach is topping out at like, you're going to play 15 minutes a night. And that's just not the situation that he needs to be in to become the guy you want him to be.
Yeah. Again, though, if they draft any of these people at 3 without trading down, we will be very critical of Daryl Morey
100%.
that night. I do still think, to close up my thoughts, Yakachonis, if that jump shot and that step back translates, he has a chance to outshoot. That's why I still have him in like the 7 to 8 range of my board. The other guy that I would at least be like, well, at least I'm intrigued by it, is Cedric Coward. But that's 3 is way too high. You have to trade down if that's your guy. Any of these guys have to be trade down, not at 3, period.
All right, folks, we're going to tell you right now that just some quick overtime. We're not going to keep you too long for overtime on a Friday heading into the weekend. Beautiful day outside, very warm, no more rain. Hope everybody's,
no more storms, man.
I was about to say, I hope everybody's good from all the storms yesterday. We saw some trees, uprooted. And
as of when I left, I still did not have power.
Still didn't have power. Power is out and all that stuff. So everybody be safe. We hope you're all good after the storms from yesterday. But again, head on over to allphly.com to head over to overtime with us. Thank you on the television side, not just today, but all week, and especially on Wednesday when you hung with us all day as we did our musical chairs for the 12-hour streamathon that we had from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We, again, cannot thank you enough for all of that. All right, it is Diehard Day. And with that, there were some special questions, right, Bree, that were thrown into the...
Yeah, we have a few.
To the Discord.
Who's your dark horse?
Maluach.
Okay. Yeah,
Maluach was that for that reason. So, let's get ready to get into these, and then we'll give our picks for the finals, Game 7 on Sunday. And
boy, what a haymaker the Pacers threw.
Crazy stuff.
Looked great. Man. Wish I could have watched it.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. All right, let's get it, Bree. Let's see what we have here for our first question. Is that Buster?
Buster says, Who would win a 3-point shooting contest between all the PHLY staff? I would put my money on either Devon or Rich. Those are my 2 picks.
Yeah, Rich would have a chance.
Rich would definitely have a chance. I will say, yeah, I can shoot it a little bit, so I think I might.
Devon and I were going on a miniature basketball
pre-draft
shooting
workout.
spree earlier.
Yeah, a nice little pre-draft workout, pre-show workout on the Papa shot.
Had to hit a bottled water after that one just to make sure I was nice and hydrated heading into the show.
Thank you for the question, Buster. I think a lot of us though here can shoot the basketball here at PHLY, including President of Basketball Operations, Bree. She can shoot the basketball, folks. All right, let's get to the next question. Oh.
Can you see
Oh,
that?
boy.
I definitely cannot see that.
Bree, I have good eyes, but I don't know if my eyes are that good. Here, I can go into the Diehard day.
Yeah.
This is from Todd. Todd said, I'd like to hear the guys discuss this question. How do teammates feel about Joel Embiid? Is he someone that they like / joke around with, feel comfortable with, respect, etc.? But said, very interested in the concept of chemistry, how much it matters, and the ways that it can be measured.
I think that, and you guys have been around him more recently, obviously in the past, and more recently than I have, but he has gotten so much better as a teammate over the years. Not that he was bad, but there were just things that sometimes you would hear little whispers about how he wasn't a great teammate. But now, even when we had on our mystery day, Justin Edwards came on, and I asked him the question about Joel having someone like him as an undrafted player, but having the franchise guy in your corner as a undrafted player where you just don't know what's going to happen. And for him to have his back, to go to his retirement ceremony at MOTEP, to the series that they had on their social media account or their video account, the Sixers, where he and Tyrese Maxey go to the thrift shop and go shopping. And he's like, we got to get something for Justin. And just taking him under his wing. Tyrese Maxey, the way that he talks about him. James Harden, when he left, the relationship that they still have. And I think it's a pretty good one overall. Even when he got into that little tiff with Kelly Oubre on the sideline, by the time we came back from commercial, they were loving it up and dapping it up, and it's in the heat of the moment with everything. So I think, all in all, I think he does have a much, much better reputation as a teammate than maybe early on in his career.
Yeah, certainly early on in his career, he was a little bit of, I don't want to say a loner, but he was certainly he kept to himself. And he didn't do
He's a little aloof, too.
He is.
Sure.
At times.
Which, when you paired it with Ben and his aloofness, it was just a whole lot of aloof. But, to Devon's point, the stuff like Justin, I don't know if he does early in his career that. I think he's made it a very concerted effort to try to do that a little bit more. His practice habits up and down. Part of that's the injury. Especially early in his career, they were very, 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 very cautious about his injuries and about making sure that he did not get injured or did not put any pressure on it in practice. I think for the most part, everyone likes him, though. Yeah. There's not many people that do not like him. They might nitpick some of his, like I said, Tyrese with the being on time or things of that sort. But for the most part, I think he's liked and respected. Yeah.
And look, it also depends on the type of player, right? Some guys have come here and they have career years playing off of Joel. JJ loves him. Yep. Seth Curry loves him. Danny Green, that wasn't a career time here, but Danny Green really likes him, despite the fact that Joel caused him to suffer a pretty catastrophic knee injury. A lot of these guys come away from playing with him and are like, man, this guy is insanely talented and whatnot. But yeah, of course there have been frustrations with him over the years when it's hard to prepare for, night to night, game to game, week to week as a player when the guy who's supposed to be the focal point of your offense and your anchor on defense just don't know if he's going to play or not, right? Yep. So there are certainly frustrations that stem from that. But I think I agree with these guys that he has helped himself more over the last 4 or 5 years, where he's shown that he cares more about the value of the off-court stuff and the group texts. And he is a guy who generally likes to keep to himself and stay with his family. But I think now has gotten to a point where he knows I can't just be I show up to practice, I get my lift in, after and I go home, right? There has to be more of a give and take relationship with whether it's the young guys, the co-stars, whoever it is. So I don't think he's like the most beloved player that all his guys have ever played with, but I think generally teammates like him and respect him and see what he brings to the table.
Do you guys remember when Harden got him the Rolex after he got his MVP? Do you think he's ever taken that out of the box?
Taking it out of the box?
I
Yes.
can't say I've ever seen Joel wear a watch.
No.
Yeah.
That felt very much like Homer Simpson buying Marge a bowling ball. And then she'd be like, I don't bowl. He's like, well, I guess I'll take it. It seemed like Harden got Joel a gift that he would enjoy. And I'm not sure.
I do love his money, his money. I'm not counting his money, but team sweatsuits, man. Team sweatsuits, and let's rock and roll. I'll get dressed occasionally.
Occasionally we'll rock.
That's what I said, occasionally.
Remember when we were up in Boston for the MVP and there was a debate going whether or not he would wear a suit, and we just like started laughing. There's no way he's wearing a suit.
T-shirt and sweats, man. That's how I
Our
like
kind of
it.
guy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, final one more question, Bree.
I think there's one more.
All right, let's get one more in here. We thank you all on Diehard Day.
JCheem90 says full breakdown of the Catwoman basketball scene. Well, I would have to know the Catwoman basketball
We're talking
scene.
like
So I have it
actual.
loaded up.
Bree
if you wanna
has it.
watch
Bree
for
has
us
it
here.
loaded,
Okay.
it looks like.
A little over a minute long, right? So
don't
let's
gotta watch
take
the
a
whole
look.
thing, but-
Anything Halle Berry does, I'm good with. So
Except for this scene, which is notorious.
Or the whole movie.
hey.
I've actually never seen it.
Hey,
I
watch
only
it.
know.
Watch it. He's talking about Halle Berry.
I mean, the movie can still suck. She's in it and the star, but it still blows. All right, so check rock. After
right.
she did some wall action.
Yeah,
there,
that's what we used to
whatever
do
that
up in
was.
Winfield off the wall trying to dunk.
But you were jumping off the wall?
Jump
like?
off the wall, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot
Yep.
of clap. The camera work, whoever is the cinematographer should be buried under the jail.
I know,
Like,
trying to be creative.
the
and
amount of
sucks.
cuts. This editing is actually making me sick right now. This is so bad.
Oh,
You
man.
can't even tell what's going on.
I have no idea. They're just dribbling the
It's just
basketball.
jump cut, jump cut,
and
jump cut,
and
jump cut.
smiling in each other's face. I just, I don't know.
What was that? Is he showing his abs as a form of distraction? Like, what's going on here? By the way, at this point, it's definitely not Halle Berry, right? Some other stunt double.
Right.
All right, what was that?
Yeah, that was good. I'm jealous of Benjamin Bratt, but, all right.
Absolutely.
It was
insane.
terrible.
Absolutely terrible.
It was terrible.
That's the best you guys had. You could have programmed the whole day of the show. And we got 2 questions and a Catwoman basketball scene question.
Oh,
Sometimes I
man.
really worry about you guys.
It's a Friday.
It is Friday.
It's a Friday.
Oh,
We're
wow.
heading into the weekend, and somehow they were watching Catwoman in the basketball scene and wanted to ask us. It wasn't good, but she was in it, so I'm fine with it.
Well, so if we're going for the true breakdown there, real lack of shot creation from Halle Berry there. A lot of crossovers to go side to side. Ultimately, the nuclear athleticism to jump over and finish at the rim made the difference. But
Yeah.
little Ace Bailey in her game.
All right. And again, thank you on Die Hard Day for sending the questions in. We really appreciate it. We thank you all week for supporting us during Spirit Week from Monday through Friday. It's just been it's been fun. It's been different with the different themes, but also not really interrupting how we do our show. So it was pretty cool to see all that stuff come through from Monday to where we are today. Big Brothers Big Sister fundraiser still going on. So if you want to donate, there are 8 hours and 50 minutes left. If you can, please do. That would be greatly appreciated. With sitting at 13.7 right now. Can we get to 15,000, folks? It's up to you. And we thank you for every donation that you have made. Really appreciate it for our partnering up with Big Brothers Big Sisters across the entire
Maybe
All
get some
City
donations
network.
on the way out today. Let's bump those numbers up.
Bump
a
those
little bit.
donations up just a tad bit, folks. We really appreciate it.
Very close to $14,000 raised. So we
Yeah.
could cross that threshold. That would be wonderful.
Absolutely. All right, Game 7, Sunday. Kyle, who you got?
I feel like at this point, it's just like I'm shrugging my shoulders. Once you get to Game 7, my biggest prediction is this will be a rock fight. This is going to be a low scoring,
No blowout here.
Whatever team gets the role player who makes like 5 or 6 threes, that's who wins this game, right?
I tend to lean OKC for that because they're home.
Yeah.
Like you see Obi Toppin
Like
goes off.
Aaron Wiggins,
Yeah.
Lou Dort.
Kason Wallace starts to hit some shots again. Lou Dort hits a few shots there. So, yeah, man. Game 7, though.
Listen, I
Great
have
series.
It's just
Tremendous.
a tremendous amount of respect for the Indiana Pacers because we didn't know about Dame Lillard and what was going to happen in the first round, but we were skeptical they'd get out of the first round. And this team, every round, every series they play their way. They've become such a great two-way team too, right? Like their ability to generate stops and get out and run and play their way. Like
a team that gives up like 130 points, it seems like every night, but their defense all of a sudden is really, really good.
Yeah. So I lean toward OKC because again, I've picked them before the season. I picked them coming into the playoffs. So I'm not going to go away from that, but do not count these Pacers boy out.
No.
My head says OKC, but I'm done listening to my head. I'm rooting for the Pacers, so I'm going to pick the Pacers. And I feel like I should root for OKC because OKC is a team I picked to win the title beforehand. If there's one thing I like more than anything, it's being right. But I really want to see the Pacers finish this off.
Really? Yeah. Okay. I'll stick with OKC for the role player stepping up at home, and you also have the best player in the series. So I'll go with the best player there, where I think he has himself a night. And these are like legacy situations here too, man.
Oh, the ultimate legacy situation, man.
So I'll go with SGA and OKC in this one. By the way, folks, Bree, who you got in Game 7?
I'm gonna switch it up. I think Pacers are gonna take it.
Right.
I don't know. That's what my gut says, you know?
All right,
So.
you got it. We just had a donation.
Who?
From Pump.
Pump It Up, the Pump It Up segment of the day.
Thank you,
It
Pump.
Up. Thank you, Pump. We really appreciate
Still
it.
here despite all the Ace Bailey
Well, it
disagreement.
is funny because
All love, Pump. Thank you.
obviously when you a super chat, you get a question in, but with the donations, you haven't had a question attached to it. So appreciate Pumper throwing it in there, even if it doesn't let him say Valdez on the show.
He can do that next
There,
week.
you just said it for him.
The next
There
week,
we go.
we'll get all that back when we start here on Monday at 3 p.m. We thank everybody for joining us all week. It's time for the world famous end of the week roll call.
First up on the roll call. Shout out to TJ McConnell, man.
Shout out TJ.
What a series he's having, man.
So next week, I'll pose that question so we'll have more time for the entire show that I asked you before the show. Just so that as maybe a poll.
Shout out to former process Sixer, TJ McConnell.
Yes.
Hooping in the NBA Finals.
That mid-range shot still money.
Just money.
Money.
Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here all week and always. Next week, big week.
Big week.
Boozy Mutt, draft night. Be there, be square. And then we got 2 shows before that, 2 shows after that, including a second round live stream. So
And we'll
busy
get
week.
some Rich Hoffman in here too.
Yes, we will. Whole gang. So thank you to Bootzilla,
Boots.
Freddie Powell, Jay of the Jungle,
They put some boots to you know what to the pace of the Thunder last night.
Boots the ass for
Did
sure.
they ever?
Lee Nguyen,
What up, Lee?
pump it up, be pumped.
Be pumped.
Sean Ford, my girl Winona,
Hey, Nona.
Hedfa,
Hey,
Vincent. What's up, Vincent?
What up, Vinny?
Jesse Bond, Brian Knight,
B Night.
Val Host,
Hey, Val.
Mom's grandchildren. What's up, Mom?
Hello.
Haidar. We had Papas in here earlier. We got our overseas people are back in, right?
It's time.
There's some excitement.
I saw a super chat from somebody. I think it was our guy.
Dalin.
What up, Al?
Dalin, who I think's caps lock button is broken. Still in on Ace. Dalin is one of the
All
Ace.
in on Ace.
The Ace crowd. Thank you, Dalin, for stopping through today. Mellow 3-point.
Hello, my man.
The letter N. Marcus Blackstock. What's up, Marcus?
What up, Marcus?
Aaron.
Aaron.
Who else is in here? Densley. Lamar.
What up, Mar?
Hookah Doncic.
Oh,
As always.
training.
Love Hookah Doncic. Yeah, Luka's looking like he's... I'll say what up to Al again.
What up, Al?
The 2-minute warning, our guy.
Get to your super chat next week. All the super chats we missed, we'll get to them next week. We'll do our
Keep
best.
saying that. Might never get to super chats. Who knows?
Yeah.
Frank Dingus. So there's that.
What's happening, Frank?
What's up to Frank? Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats.
What up, man?
Did you get the letter N?
I did get the letter in.
Right, Men in Black.
All right, I think that's enough for today.
it.
Guys, even you know this. If I don't say your name,
We
it
love
doesn't
you
mean I
all.
don't like you. We love you all. Music Lover 31. How about that? Add another one to the list. I just didn't have time to scroll up that far. On the way out, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already to say thank you to super producer Bree
Thank you, Bree.
for holding it down behind the glass, the proverbial glass over there, making it all happen. Like I said earlier, 3 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, plus a live draft stream, a live draft show at the Boozy Mutt, plus a live draft stream on
RSVP.
Thursday night for the second round. Yeah, please RSVP. Come see us at the Boozy Mutt next week. Going to be a good time.
Have some food.
We'll finally stop all the debates. They could take this guy, could take that guy. It will be over. We will know who the pick is. See you then. Until then, have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Stay hydrated in the heat.
Exactly.
By the way, take care.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.